Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I'm Queen Celestine. The top stories this hour. President Tinubu conferred with highest national honor in St. Lucia on his diplomatic trip to the Caribbean island nation. University Senior Staff Union threatens fresh industrial action over withheld salaries. United Nations World Food Programme warns of looming hunger crisis for millions of Sudanese refugees as funds dry up. More details shortly. President Bola Tinubu has announced that the scholarship program for students from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States to study in Nigerian universities will commence in the next academic year. At a joint press conference with the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip J. Pierre, following a high-level working luncheon with the leaders in Gross Islet on Monday, President Tinubu says the initiative has already commenced. News Central correspondent Bettina Nweli reports.
President Bola Tinubu on Monday in St. Lucia announced a scholarship program for students from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, to study in Nigerian universities. The president, who is on a state visit to the Caribbean island nation, said the initiative is part of a broader cooperation framework to strengthen people-to-people ties and expand opportunities in education, trade, and development.
I strongly advocate for educational exchange programs between Nigeria and OECS. I will establish full scholarship tuition for students of OECS.
President Tinubu further disclosed that a proposal for visa waivers for holders of diplomatic and official passports from OECS member states is also on course.
In a concrete step towards this goal, Nigeria is open to exploring a visa waiver arrangement for holders of diplomatic and official passports from OECS member states traveling to Nigeria. I respectfully urge a reciprocal gesture to enable smoother movement of officials and foster closer institutional cooperation.
I think from what the President said, and from the historical ties we've had before, people-to-people relationship, Lucians playing some important role in our country, I think this will mark a new beginning, something that will resonate in the future.
The relationship with Nigeria and St. Lucia and also the East African Caribbean states is vital. It's vital for our access into the Caribbean regarding our trade, cultural, and even our access even with the United Nations.
Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip Pierre, welcomed the scholarship initiative, describing it as a timely and practical expression of solidarity.
We held a high-level luncheon where the President outlined to us how the OECS would benefit from the country of Nigeria. We expect the scholarships to happen in the next academic year. We expect students to be studying in Nigeria in the next academic year based on the fact that the President has instructed that that should happen and the committee will deal with it. So in the next year, we expect the scholarships to begin.
There are many areas that both nations can explore collaboration in tourism, trade, education, and multilateral diplomacy. As such, President Tinubu's visit is seen as advancing a Pan-African vision by fostering collaborative development. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Nweli.
And joining us now is a lawyer and policy analyst, Oluwatodimu Ige from Lagos. Hello, Ige. How are you? Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Okay, please, can you tell us, up until this week, there are many Nigerians that were sure that don't know anything about a country called St. Lucia, much less, the ancestors that were from Nigeria. How would you describe the president's trip to St. Lucia?
Well, like you rightly opined, that many people are not aware of the nation St. Lucia. But the visit of the president to St. Lucia is to further open up Nigeria to the Caribbeans. As the president and the spokesman also mentioned, that the visit of the president to St. Lucia is to open up Nigeria and position us for access into the Caribbean, because St. Lucia is primarily positioned on the Caribbeans, and if Nigeria must make an inway for culture, for trade, and of course diplomatic relations, it is expected, and well, it is appropriate that the president has visited St. Lucia at this time.
Okay, thank you. What would you consider the strategic objectives behind this visit, except for, its symbolic value? Is there any economic gain to it?
Yes. Now, when it comes to the strategic reasoning behind this visit, number one is the diplomatic relations. It positions Nigeria, Nigeria is considered as an authority in Africa, and going to the Caribbeans, it fosters proper and a good diplomatic relation. That's number one. Number two, Nigeria offering scholarships to students of St. Lucia positions Nigeria's academic sector as vibrant and reliable. What this portrays is that Nigeria, universities and tertiary institutions in Nigeria can be looked upon to give sound education. And if you look at it, for countries like the United Kingdom, United States of America, and even Australia, the educational sector plays a vital role for income generation for those nations. And if Nigerian institutions are positioned in this way to show that they can actually offer value and train people who will be qualified to work in other nations, and also as an exchange program, I think that it is a step in the right direction, and Nigeria will, at the end of it, aside from the educational gain for our institution, would also look at the aspect of the trade and tourism.
Okay. We see that, the president has been conferred with the Knight Commander of the Order of St. Lucia. But beyond that, beyond what you just said, what else will be the benefit is in terms of our, cultural exchange? I know you just mentioned education. So apart from that, what else do you think will benefit us in Nigeria with St. Lucia?
Yes, another benefit for Nigeria, aside from education, would of course be trade. And you will see that also in the pipeline is the topic of visa restrictions and visa access. The president has said that for St. Lucia, their citizens will come into Nigeria and the visa policy will be adjusted for them. I'm also expecting that this will be reciprocal. That means that Nigerians who are willing to go into the Caribbean, who are willing to go into St. Lucia, would also have access, and would the gesture of the visa, less visa restrictions, would also be applicable to Nigeria. And also considering that the Caribbean is also a trade zone when it comes to, because any nation that has access to water is also has an opening for trade exploration. And that means that Nigerians can look into the possibility of trade exchange and culture. Culture, of course, would also yield more, when we look at culture and tourism, the access to the beaches, they can come to Nigeria, Nigerians can go there. And of course, Nigerians would intend in the future begin to explore the possibility of setting up universities in that nation, setting up training institutions there for funding. It's a strategic development. The gains might not be immediate, but if this visit is followed up on, I strongly believe that is a step in the right direction. Making more friends has never been a bad decision.
Thank you so much, Ige. Thank you so much for joining us at this time. The President Bola Tinubu has been awarded St. Lucia's highest national honor, the title of Knight Commander of the Order of St. Lucia. The honor was announced during his diplomatic visit to the Caribbean nation, part of a Brother Two-Country tour. Addressing St. Lucia's Parliament, President Tinubu emphasized the shared destiny of Africans and the Caribbean people, calling for deeper economic and cultural ties. Both nations agreed to formalize diplomatic relations and implement a visa waiver for officials, along with scholarships and technical aid support from Nigeria to OECS member states. Tinubu reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to boosting cooperation in trade, education, tourism, and culture, aiming to build lasting partnerships across the Atlantic.
We are also proud to note that some of our famous nationals contributed to the development of your country in the early years of transition from colonial rule to independent sovereign power.
I came here as a president, ordinary president. Leave other honors behind. But I'm living as a knight.
I'm honored that he has agreed to accept the highest order that can be sold on an individual by the government and people of St. Lucia. It is a fitting testimony of our appreciation for not only His Excellency, appreciation for the links that bind the people of St. Lucia and the people of the OECS with the people of Nigeria.
Staff Association of Nigerian Universities is threatening fresh industrial action over the federal government's failure to release 2 months withheld salaries for members who joined the 2022 strike. At its 51st National Executive Council meeting in Kano, the union also condemned delays in salary payments to university staff and called for immediate harmonization of salary disbursements across all federal and state institutions. They expressed disappointment over the stalled renegotiation of the 2009 agreement with the government and criticized the unjust allocation of earned allowances, demanding redress. The union warned that continued neglect of agreements could trigger further action, urging the government to address these concerns to avert another crisis in the university system. Now to legislative matters. The House of Representatives Ad hoc Committee on the Rivers State Emergency Rule has issued a 48-hour ultimatum to the state administrator to justify the proposed spending of 24 billion naira for CCTV installations and 30 billion naira for the purchase of gunboats, among other items. Chairman of the committee, Julius Ihobere, alongside other lawmakers, raised concerns over the budget proposal during a defense session held in Abuja. Ihobere noted that the committee had thoroughly reviewed the budget as presented by the sole administrator and observed questionable allocations of state funds to existing federal projects without formal agreements with the federal government. Responding, the Senior Special Assistant to the Sole Administrator on Strategy and Policy, Andrew Nweke, explained that the administration inherited many of the items in the current budget.
We see a total of 264 billion naira just for State House. There are some worrisome components in that allocation. For example, what is the justification for 30 billion naira allocation for gunboats?
The environment is generally a maritime environment, and there's a need to support the efforts of the federal government to aid the services and the work that the security agencies are doing over the years. And that is why we have this provision that we have there, with respect to the provision for gunboats specifically.
The question of 30 billion for gunboats and 25 billion for contingency. We know Rivers State has its own peculiarities, but we need additional details for those allocations. And Like I said, the documents we want within 48 hours. No, give them 48 hours, that is fine. If you can make it 24 hours, since these are not particularly complicated documents, that will be fine.
And now we'll go on our first break and we'll give you more news after that. Elders and stakeholders of Southern Kaduna are calling on Governor Uba Sani to repeal the State Traditional Institution Law 2021, which was signed into law by the immediate past Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and allegedly discriminates traditional institutions which have been in existence for centuries. The law, which led to the creation of emirats in Christian-dominated communities, replacing the titles of paramount traditional rulers to emirs, has continued to spark public outcry by residents in the affected communities. In an exclusive interview with News Central Television, some leaders from affected communities dismissed claim by the former governor that the affected communities requested the law. News Central Emmanuel Bagudu tells us more.
The conversation has taken center stage in the last 4 years, including a suit challenging the decision of the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, bordering on the change in designation of local chiefs and their chiefdoms, mainly from the southern part of Kaduna State. Also in the conversation is the former Director General of the National Human Rights Commission, Chidi Odinkalu, who claimed the ex-governor persecuted Christians by signing the law which he said balkanized their traditional institutions. Reacting to this, the media aide to ex-governor El-Rufai, Muyiwa Adekeye, had recently accused human rights lawyer Chidi Odinkalu, accusing him of lying and misleading the public over the actions of the former governor. In a swift reaction, leaders from the southern Kaduna extraction countered Adekeye and used the opportunity to appeal to the current governor of the state to repeal the law and review several policies of the former governor, which they say are non-inclusive and discriminatory.
The chief bears the name of his ethnic group. It is historical. That is something that has evolved based on our traditions, our customs, our laws, and the ways of doing things, our governance processes, our traditional governance processes. You understand? So El-Rufai said, no, we must be like Hausa or Fulani chiefs.
No, he didn't do it for political gain. He did it out of the insidious hate that he has for the people of Southern Kaduna. He wanted to humiliate them. He wanted to push the influence and the powers of the settler Hausa and Fulani communities in Southern Kaduna.
Some of them say the move was not only criticized by the residents in the affected communities, but also across the nation. They say the governor's action was condemnable and a display of ethnic bigotry.
They have Emir of Kano. We must have Ogwam Kaguru. The Kaguru people protested so vigorously. He had to change it back to Ogwamagoro. Okay? Look at what happened in Kafancha. Ogwam Fontwam. He named it Ogwam Zepak. We have rejected it. We, the Community Development Associations, have rejected it. The communities of Southern Kaduna have rejected it. The village head of
Zwahu Bonat is a popular historian, researcher, and an expert on the history of Nigeria's Middle Belt region. He believes that actions like this can erase cultures and the way of life of ethnic groups if left unreversed.
So, we have a balance of power. The government traditional council, if they do the wrong thing, the council of Elders will say no, it is contrary to our traditions, it is contrary to our morals, it is contrary to our customs, it is not in the interest of the nation. But that was what El-Rufai came to trample upon, to show us he had the power to do it. And then to go around and tell lies that we asked him to do it. We never did.
Bonat maintains that this action is responsible for the current violence within some parts of the country where different groups have been pitched against each other.
And when they say Fulani militias are attacking our people, they will say it is ethnic profiling. Who is profiling who?
El-Rufai divided the state more than any other ruler since the independence of Nigeria. We have never had any governor that came with a very dark and gloomy agenda in which most of his energy was expended in dealing with Southern Kaduna.
All attempts to reach the aid of the former governor, Muyiwa Adeke, has been unsuccessful. While the leaders of Southern Kaduna say that they are in court on the matter, they hope that the current governor will put an end to it once and for all. In Kaduna for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
It's a global reminder of the vital role small businesses play in driving economic growth and innovation. In Abuja, the United Nations in Nigeria brought together its agencies, partners, and entrepreneurs to mark the 2025 International Micro, Small, and Medium-Sized Enterprises Day. This year's theme, enhancing the role of MSMEs as drivers of sustainable growth and innovation, highlights the sector's critical role in meeting development targets. News Central Sumaya Abubakar has more.
Entrepreneurs, policymakers, development partners, and innovators gathered to celebrate progress, reflect on ongoing challenges, and share ideas on how to strengthen the MSME ecosystem in Nigeria. The event featured a high-level dialogue, networking sessions, and a vibrant exhibition showcasing homegrown products and services.
In a country like Nigeria, where we have the problem of unemployment and the teeming youth, so we are taking MSMEs very, very important.
MSMEs require coherent ecosystems built on enabling regulation, access to affordable finance, integrated value chains, and digital infrastructure that opens markets rather than limits them.
MSME Day 2025 is not just a calendar event, it is a global call to action. Here in Abuja, the United Nations and its partners are using this occasion to spotlight the vital role of small businesses in tackling poverty, driving innovation, and shaping a more sustainable future.
From handmade crafts to sustainable solutions, the exhibition spotlighted how small businesses are tackling real-world challenges with creativity and resilience.
SMEs, we try to strive even when things are not well, but we try because we are passionate about it. We want to add value to the country, not just taking our raw materials out of the country, they process it and bring it back. But we know we are producing our own.
It gives us a sense of belonging, that the country recognizes us, that we are playing a very integral part in the economy. So the feeling is good.
As Nigeria continues its push for economic diversification and job creation, organizers say MSME Day serves as a powerful reminder of the sector's central role in achieving the sustainable development goals. In Abuja, for News Central, Sumaya Abubakar.
As part of efforts to address the multiple operational challenges in the freight, forwarding, and logistics industry, stakeholders in the maritime industry came together to prefer solutions and forge a way forward for greater impact in the sector. News Central's maritime correspondent Norma Obi Aswalu was at the event and filled in this report.
The freight and logistics sector is the backbone of trade facilitation. It is critical to national economy and regional connectivity. But the industry has been plagued with myriad of challenges which called for this stakeholders' engagement with the team, digitization and standardization of freight logistics services and pricing mechanism. Stakeholders took turns to speak on the sector challenges and how to address the issue of freight logistics services and pricing. Government agencies, multiple registration, lack of automation, racketeering, corruption, customs Odogu challenge, and the influx of foreigners, amongst others.
When you digitalize, you reduce the chances of corruption. And I think the CRFFN need to be very emphatic because they are going to face a lot of challenges from people who have been benefiting from these corrupt practices. They are going to frustrate them.
Just like in any other country, we don't leave our industry open for all comers to come in. For instance, I can't go into United Kingdom or any other country and start processing freight forwarding without going through the rudiments. I must be professional. We're not saying foreigners don't come, but it must be professionalized. We want it to be documented. Yes, we want it to be documented. We not want them to go through the normal instance, not that for them to rely on one big organ at the top and then hope everything will be well. No, it should not be.
The Registrar and CEO of the Council for Regulating Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, in his address, spoke on revolutionizing the freight forwarding industry and what he intends to do differently.
For us to achieve this efficiency, there's also need to explore some avenues, leveraging on technology by digitizing the services and standardizing the services and standardizing the process of pricing for the services. So it's clear to everyone. Nobody will be cheated. So it's going to be transparent enough with what we are bringing on board. That is one thing we have discussed today. And that is what we are doing differently in CRFFN.
The journey to ensuring efficiency, enhancing competitiveness, blocking revenue leakages and curbing corruption is set to be achieved through the full implementation of all resolved at this engagement. Above all, stakeholders look forward to the long-awaited political will to turn these desires into reality. In Lagos, for News Central, Norma Obiaswalo.
And coming up, hundreds arrested in Kenya after deadly nationwide protest. We will tell you more after the break. Join us again. Tensions remain high in Kenya after a wave of violent protests swept across the country last week. Authorities now say 485 people have been arrested, facing charges including murder, terrorism, rape, and destruction of property following nationwide demonstrations that turned deadly. What began as peaceful rallies to mark the anniversary of last year's anti-tax protest quickly descended into chaos. In Nairobi's central business district, angry crowd clashed with police, looted shops, and left a trail of destruction across the capital. The Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights reports that at least 19 people were killed and over 500 injured, many of them suffering gunshot wounds. Kenya's Interior Secretary has labeled the unrest an attempted coup, while the United Nations has condemned the bloodshed, urging calm and restraint from all sides.
Wednesday, June 2025, Kenya witnessed demonstrations dubbed Gen Z anniversary protests. While some citizens turned out peacefully to exercise their constitutional rights to assemble and express dissent, a well-coordinated network of criminal actors infiltrated and hijacked these demonstrations. Criminals came out with this.
And in East Africa, United Nations World Food Programme has warned that millions of people displaced by the war in Sudan are at risk of plunging even deeper into crisis as international food aid begins to run dry. Since fighting erupted in April 2023 between Sudan's military and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, the conflict has triggered the world's largest displacement crisis. More than 10 million people have been forced from their homes within Sudan, while an additional 4 million have fled across borders, many seeking refuge in Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan. Despite the scale of the crisis, the UN says its humanitarian response plan, which also addresses what it calls the world's largest hunger emergency, is just 14.4% funded. The World Food Programme is now warning that life-saving support for Sudanese refugees in countries like Egypt, Ethiopia, Libya, and the Central African Republic may soon grind to a halt. In South Africa, we now bring you a story that highlights the harsh realities faced by many children caught in the cycle of poverty and social hardship. Behind the bright lights and bustling streets of Johannesburg, innocent childhoods are being stolen by circumstances beyond their control. News Central Bongani Sizaba takes us to the streets of Johannesburg, where children are in the shadows of exploitation.
In the heart of Johannesburg, forgotten corners, behind crumbling walls and dark corridors, live children whose childhood have been stolen by poverty. This is a reality, a life marked by struggle, hardships, and loss of innocence. Meet Dylan and Darren, two boys from Zimbabwe. Their mother came to South Africa seeking for a better life, but instead she found herself trapped in a cycle of struggles alongside countless women fighting for survival. Every morning, their mother wakes up, taking them to busy street corners to beg, a daily routine and harsh reality that has robbed them of their rights, childhood, and education.
Every day I bring them here so that I can get food, I can get clothes for them to wear. That's what I'm getting every day, my sister. Even per day I can get even 20 rand.
These busy streets corners have become a painful reality for children that have lost their childhood, stolen, forced to beg, their innocence replaced with demands for coins and food.
Every child has a right to learn, to grow, and to be protected, yet many of these kids are denied access to schools, their future exploited for immediate survival.
Tinouya parobot tinoshupika, tinouya parobot tichikumbira mama wana mari, isusu hatiendi kuchikoro, tinongogara tiri panapo parobot tichikumbira mari, vamwe vanoenda kuchikoro ine handiendi kuchikoro, zvinondirwadza kuti ndisingaendi kuchikoro.
Their story is just one among many children alike. It's a heartbreaking reality that needs urgent attention.
I don't like to come here to beg because my age mates are going to school and I don't go to school and it hurts me so badly. And I'm looking for someone who could like to help me, to take me to school and give me a better education and buy for me food and get us a better shelter, because if I beg today and I don't get food, I will never eat today.
The presence of foreign women and children in these begging activities raises questions about wider social and economic issues, including poverty, lack of access to social services, and immigration challenges.
As social workers, there's nothing much that we can do. Remember, we cannot go to them, tell them that we want to help them. If somebody doesn't come to us asking for help, we cannot help them. They first have to take the initiative to say they want to be helped. Do you understand? Then that's when we can help them.
Behind every child at these traffic lights is a story of hope, loss, and resilience. But their childhood shouldn't be spent chasing coins. They deserve the chance to just be kids. Their hope for a better future remains distant, highlighting the urgent need for social support, education access, and policies that protects the rights of children regardless of their background.
Today, I am here begging on the streets just like a street kid. And I don't like it because it hurts me so much.
Beyond immediate hardship, these children face a future limited by loss of opportunities, poor health, and trauma of exploitation. They need a world that can stand up for their rights to ensure that they are free to learn, to dream, and enjoy a childhood, because no child should grow up in the shadows of exploitation. In South Africa, Johannesburg, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Media reports from Middle East says blasts were heard in Iran on Monday and Tuesday in Mahalati and Tehran, and another explosion reported in the northwest. Meanwhile, Iran raised the official death toll for its war with Israel on Monday, with official media reporting 935 people were killed in the country during the 12-day conflict. The state-run IRNA news agency did not give a breakdown between military and civilian casualties. The country has also announced that the country nuclear negotiations with the United States will not resume until the U.S. military threat ceases. Joining us now from Tehran is Dr. Zoran Hamarazmi, who is Professor of American Studies, University of Tehran. Hello, Doctor. How are you? Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Please, how has the general mood been among the people in Iran lately? How are they feeling? Are they feeling hope, or is there fear? Is there resistance? What exactly are they feeling over there in Iran?
The fact is that Israelis has indicated that they are a genocidal, ethnocentrist, apartheid actually country, and you see that how they are slaughtering women and children in Gaza right now. So Iranians also are feeling unsafe as they may strike back soon. And it is something that's well expected here, that they are continuing their act of aggression against Iran. Anyway, but at the same time, there is a sort of national solidarity. The people indicated that in the funeral of the actually martyrs and the people killed by Israelis, the commanders, the civilians, women, children, more than a million, over a million population came to the streets and take part in the actually funeral. And the sort of maxims that people were chanting was death to Israel, death to the United States, and the confirmation of the right to defend and a right to continue our actually developing the nuclear peaceful energy facilities. And I think there's the spirit of solidarity very much overwhelmed by the society.
Okay. From a geopolitical perspective, how do you see Iran's current security situation following the recent escalation and bombing? What do you think will happen?
Actually, there is a very delicate situation because it was not a ceasefire. It was only a cessation of the hostility and Israeli, because they ran out of the defense facilities. They actually got an occasion, and you know that massive injection of the artillery and actually ammunition is they received from the United States. So I think that sort of actually cessation of hostility can be very short term, and very soon maybe Iran would be struck by Israelis. So this is the whole actually sense we have and the calculation we have. But at the same time, Iran is working on its defense system, on its actually missile capabilities. And you know, some maybe underground facilities, the nuclear facilities that were damaged by the B-2 actually bombers of the United States, they need to be repaired. So we are actually seizing the time to repair and get more preparations. But Israelis has got a good lesson. They thought that.
Okay, we've seemed to lose the doctor there, and now we'll go on a short break and we'll give you more news after that. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now we're going to have a conversation with Dr. Zohan. We had a network issue before, and now she's back. Dr. Zohan, can you hear me? Moving on, what can you tell us about the recent blast head over some cities? In your view, what are the border regional implications of this recent escalation, and what are the responses from Iran?
Actually, Iran has the right, the legitimacy to defend itself. So any sort of actually resources it can use. One is that very much the people are aware today about using the technology, how the U.S. corporations like Meta, for example, are misusing our information against us. And at the same time, looking at for example, international bodies like IAEA, the real image of them, the reality is very well understood by the Iranian nation, that how they misuse the information, how the nuclear scientists' information were leaked, how they are not even condemned Israel, that is not a member of the NPT. It has 400 nuclear warheads, and it used actually and it actually did the act of aggression against us, and IAEA and Grossi never condemned it. And also the United States position that bombarded actually the Iranian nuclear facilities. They were not even showing responsibility against the civilians. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello,
yeah, so I think that many things has changed in questioning the national security by Iranians. An anti-Western, anti-American, anti-Israeli understanding of the nation has grown very much these days.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, giving us your time. And now we're moving on to business. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is reporting 6.008 trillion naira in revenue for May 2025, slightly up from April's 5.972 trillion naira, according to its latest monthly report. It has a profit after tax surge of 14% to 1.054 trillion naira compared to 926 billion naira in April. Crude oil and condensate production also edged higher to 1.63 million barrels per day in May, up from 1.61 in April, which peak outputs reaching 1.72. The figures reflect a steady recovery in production and earnings momentum for Nigeria's state oil firm. Sports, Nigerians bid to qualify its men and women 4x100-meter relay teams for the 2025 World Athletics Championship in Tokyo is in serious jeopardy. The men's team dropped to 16th in the global rankings after the Netherlands set a blistering 37.87 seconds at the European Team Championships in Madrid, surpassing Nigeria's 38.20 seconds and claiming one of the two-time base qualification spot. The women's team faces an even tougher part, currently ranked 17th with 42.70 seconds outside the qualifying bracket. With only 4 meets left before the August 24 deadline, including the Nigerian Championships and CAA Region 2 event in Ghana, Nigeria must urgently improve its time or risk missing out entirely on relay participation in Tokyo. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu has been conferred with highest national honor in St. Lucia on his diplomatic trip to the Caribbean island nation. University Senior Staff Union has threatened fresh industrial action over withheld salaries. United Nations World Food Programme has warned of looming hunger crisis for millions of Sudanese refugees as funds dry up. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Queen Celestine.